In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to begin to cut out the section of the picture that you would like to use in your fantasy landscape. Now remember, you have to do this to 10 different pictures. I'm going to show you how to do it to 1. Once you complete this process, you have to do it to 9 more, at least. Any extra photos that you put in more than 10, you get extra credit for. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is open Adobe Photoshop, okay? That can be found in the Start menu. Then you go to the Programs menu and go to Adobe Design Premium, and it is the blue square that looks like this, okay? You're going to see a blue PS, and it says Adobe Photoshop. Once the program is open, you want to do a File, Open, go to your iDrive in the folder that you've saved the photographs that you've downloaded from the internet. Okay, so you want to do a File, Open, and find the photo that you would like to start to clip out. I'm going to trace my kayak photo that I just downloaded and then click Open. Now that's going to open in Adobe Photoshop. Now be patient with your computer. Sometimes they run a little slowly with these programs. Okay, now what I want to do is begin to cut out, using my pen tool, the shape of my 5 kayakers here. I want to get rid of all of this water in the background. Now when you cut something out in Photoshop, it's just like using a pair of scissors to cut along a dotted line in a coloring book. Okay, so the tool I'm going to use is this tool right here. It's found in your toolbar. This is your pen tool. Okay, you want to click your pen tool. If any of these tools are selected, it will not work. You need to click the one that simply says pen tool. It is the first option. Okay, now before you begin to trace anything, you need to make sure that this button right here in the upper left corner of your toolbar at the top of your screen is clicked. Do not have this button clicked. If this button is clicked, you will create a shape that fills with color, just like that. You do not want to do that. It will not work, okay? You need to make sure that this button is clicked, the one for paths. This is just like drawing around something with a Sharpie, okay? So you want to click on the paths button. Now, it's always better to zoom in real close when you begin to trace something. Okay, pick a spot where you're going to begin to trace. And you want to click your mouse, hold your mouse button down, and drag your handlebars out. Now, the trick with using the pen tool is to click and drag in the direction you're moving. Okay? I'm moving vertically. I'm pulling my handlebars out vertically. Watch the handlebars as I pull them out. You want to trace all the way around your object that you're cutting out. In my case, it's my kayakers. And you want to stay as close to the outline of the figure or the object as possible. Okay? This way you'll get a nice clean cut when it comes time to get our dancing ants to cut out your object or your shapes. So I'm just going to continue to click around these kayakers. Now, if you notice right here, I made a little bleep, made a little mistake. You can always go back and fix that with your white arrow tool, which is right here. This is your direct selection tool. If you click on the white arrow and click on one of the points that you just made, you get your handlebars back, and you can readjust your handlebars, move a point in and out, move them around, okay? So it's a closer path. And in the long run, being meticulous with this will help you quite a bit. Craftsmanship in this project counts, and you will be graded on how well you use this tool. Okay? Now, I fixed my mistakes I just made, but I want to continue my path. So I go back over to my pen tool, click on it, make sure that your paths button is clicked up here and click on the last point that I made. Okay, so just click that last point, your handlebars will reappear, and you can continue tracing. Okay, so I'm going to continue tracing around my kayakers. Okay, now in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cut this out. But for right now, I'm going to finish tracing all the way around my kayakers to cut this out, to get a path. You want to get it nice and close. Remember, click and drag those handlebars out. So you click, hold your mouse, drag your handlebars. Okay? Click, hold your mouse, drag your handlebars around. Click, drag. Click, drag. Click, drag. Click, drag. Now I know this probably seems monotonous and annoying, but in the end, it will make your life a lot easier. Now I'm almost finished tracing my kayakers. Just a couple more points here to click. Okay, just got to get up and around the stern of this guy. Now, what's so important is you always want to end where you began, okay? So this is my very first point I drew. You want to close your path by clicking on your first point. So your first point becomes your last point. So you click and now you've connected everything. It's like clasping a bracelet or a necklace, okay? You always want to go up all the way around and clip back onto the first one. Now, I'm going to go back through with my white arrow tool, double check and make sure that everything is aligned properly and it's nice and snug. Like this line needs to be fixed. So you just trace. Now, if you notice, I have my little hand here. I'm moving my picture around the canvas by holding the space bar key on my keyboard, which gives me the little hand. Okay, this is the grab shortcut. So you hold the space bar and then click with your mouse and it moves your canvas around. It's a little bit easier to work with than having to go back and forth between the move tool and your direct selection tool. So use your shortcuts. They will make your life easier. Okay, we're almost done editing this line. Just got to nudge these points over a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Now if you notice, there is a path around all of my kayakers. Okay, see this line right here? That is your path. Now we have to get our dancing ants in order to delete the background, which is all the water area of my photograph. So you want to go into your paths palette, which is not over here. Yes, it is. It's right there. But sometimes you can see it here in the words. This is my paths palette. If you do not see your paths palette over in your options on the right hand side, go to Window and click the word Paths. That will bring up your paths palette. Okay? Now, what's so important in Photoshop is that if you make a mistake, you can only do undo once by doing Control Z, undoes something. Okay? You can only do that once in Photoshop. So you always want to go to Window and click on the word History. This brings up your History palette, which is your ticket back in time. So if I clicked on these layers, notice how my path is changing? I'm going back in time and undoing the changes I just made. Okay? But I want to keep all that stuff. But just in case you make a mistake, undo only does once, okay? So you always want to have your history palette open. I'm just going to drag my history palette over here to keep it out of the way. Now, we have our paths palette open that we just opened up. And if you notice right here, there's a blue layer highlighted that's called a work path. And it's italicized, which means the letters look like they're slanted. You want to double click on that layer, and you can keep it named as path 1 and hit OK. Now, those words, those two words, become path 1 and they're no longer italicized. This means that you saved your path and it will be there forever unless you delete it. Okay? So you want to do that. At this point, I want you to do a file save. Okay? When your JPEG options come up, keep them all at the defaults. That's fine, and click OK. Now your path has been saved in your JPEG photo that you downloaded from the internet. Now, to get our dancing ants, you always want to make sure your path is highlighted. So you want to click on your path, and then come down to the bottom of the paths palette and click the Load Path as a Selection button. This is the third button from the left that looks like a circle with dotted lines on it. Okay? Click that button and notice now we have our dancing ants around our kayakers. Now the next step is you want to go back to your layers palette and double click your layer. Click OK. Now that unlocks your layer. Okay? If you don't do this, when you delete your background, it's going to fill with whatever color is in your foreground color. Our goal is to get a background that is transparent. So you want to be able to see a gray and white checkerboard background. That means the only thing that's going to be there is going to be your kayakers. Okay? So you want to unlock your layer by double clicking on it. Then you want to do a select inverse. Now select inverse selects everything other than what's inside the ants right here. So now, if you see the dotted lines around your border, around your background, okay, that means that all of this is going to be deleted. So once you see your dancing ants around the edges of your picture, you can just hit backspace on your keyboard and the background has disappeared. Okay? Once you do that, I want you to do a Control D to deselect your ants to make them go away, and then do a file, save as, and save it with the same title name, but save it as a Photoshop document. Do not save it as a JPEG. If you save it as a JPEG, it will fill your background in with white. We want to keep a transparent background, and we want to be able to continue to edit our photo if need be. So make sure you save it as a Photoshop file and click Save. When this comes up, maximum compatibility, just click OK. And now you have a Photoshop file. Now, in the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take your cut out object or people or shape, whatever it is you did, and drag it into your landscape to begin to arrange your composition of your landscape.